Whew. Mike's alive, guys. No swearing. Morning everyone and welcome back to Jam. Just a quick reminder, YouTube comments are for questions only. Please do not post memes, bants or even just say hi to each other, as it makes our moderators' lives much harder. So we've got a really busy day today. At 11:30 we're going to be joined by Sarah Ashworth, who's a production assistant with Netflix. At 2 p.m. we have writer and director Evie Osborne. And at 3:30 we'll be talking to Dolly Hughes, who's a digital marketer at Tank. But first, we are going to be chatting with Jake Garner. So with over a decade of experience in radio, Jake is a seasoned football commentator, presenter and producer. Working for BBC Radio Nottingham and Leicester, Jake covers Mansfield Town, both home and away. With more than 350 games under his belt, career highlights include full match commentary for Radio 5 Sports Extra and covering the Stag's playoff final at Wembley in 2022. Alongside his commentary, Jake is heavily involved in production, helping the BBC develop its digital strategy. He hosts music programmes for Radio Nottingham and produces sports bulletins for Radio Leicester. Let's take a look at some of Jake's work.
Corner comes in, third corner of the day, it will fall for Stephen Quinn to volley! Oh my goodness, what a start! What a start for Mansfield in League One! And it's their oldest player. Corner taken short in towards Maris. Oh, he's got into his own end. And Mansfield have the lead already inside the opening 2 minutes of the game. Higgins with the touch in towards Stephen Quinn. He's going to leave it for Elliot Hewitt. Ball across goal. It's stopped in. Mansfield Town lead on the night. And it's the man of the moment, Stephen McLaughlin. Stephen McLaughlin rolls it in towards Jordan Barry. Through the middle it goes on towards Reece Oates. One-on-one with the goalkeeper. Forced that wide. But Oates slides over the goalkeeper and puts Mansfield Town in front. The man of the moment, Reece Oates. And nil to Notts County, but they have got a mistake in them, as we've seen, as Lucas Akins wins it back, plays it into the area towards Maris, helps it on one more towards Lewis Reed to fire in. Yes! Lewis Reed! What a goal! His second goal of the season. Lucas Akins pulls it across. There was Maris, and there was Reed to have home his second goal from close range. Just rolls it into the corner. The Jimmy Cyril stand explodes into a sea of yellow and blue. Keeler done with that delivery, right-footed in the near post. There's Akins, hit the post. It's going to be smashed in. Aidan Flint, he's got his first goal as well. It's the tale of the two centre halves. One for Cargill and one for Aidan Flint as he slides on his backside in front of the Jubilant.
Thank you so much for coming in today. Can you tell us about how you started out in journalism?
I mean, it was a very long time ago. First of all, thank you for having me here, by the way. So it started when, I'll probably say in hospital radio. I've started the radio journey when I went to university, studied radio production and media studies, and graduated I think I needed 54 on my final exam and I got 54 on the nose, so I was like yes. And then after that I was trying to find a way through to break into the industry, which of course is incredibly difficult, but then I got in touch with the local hospital radio over at Queen's Medical Centre. The chairman Rajiv invited me in for an interview. We had a chat about numerous things, including football and music and that type of thing, and what I wanted to do. And then from there, whilst I was working in a bar, in a newsagent's, and in a hotel, I'd volunteer at hospital radio, and then sort of picked up more skills that way, including doing some football commentary for them at Forest games. And then from there, it just happened to be a chance meeting with David Jackson and Colin Fray and Robin Chipperfield, who I'd see at the City Ground every other Saturday and that type of thing. Got to know them a little bit, and then an opportunity came up where I think it was David who said to me, would I be interested in coming in to do some freelance shifts at the BBC, sort of helping out on a matchday programme, a bit of editing, a bit of turning goals around and writing scripts and things. And jumped at the chance. And since then, it was November 2015, and I've not left since. So it's and then whilst I was in there, you just kind of snap up any opportunity that comes your way. You kind of have to be really keen to do absolutely everything, even if it's something that doesn't sound particularly fun. You think, well, if I do this, then this could lead to that, and that's kind of been my way through, really. There's no right formula into getting into journalism, but I know there's many people out there, a lot of talented people who've got degrees and masters in journalism, whereas with me, I think a lot of the things I've learned have come from working with colleagues in the BBC newsroom, and you pick things up, the do's and don'ts, more don'ts than do's, I think, in the journalism department, and you learn from there, and you attach it to what you need to do. So I think I never particularly had any aspirations to be a journalist or a sports journalist starting out. It's just one of those things that was sort of one thing led to another, which was quite fascinating, really, when I look back on it. As we were saying before the programme, when I used to drive to Queen's Medical Centre to do hospital radio, I'd be driving past the BBC Island and look longingly towards the top buildings, going, one day that'll be me, And then I remember walking through, meeting David and walking through to effectively my first newsroom, and seeing all the people and the hustle and bustle of it, and not just in radio but in TV and online as well, and how that all works. And particularly in the way that things are going now, I think there's a demand for people who can do television and write online and do radio bulletins as well. So I think to be able to pick up all those skills, over those 10, 12 years or so, it's been really good fun. It's been challenging, but fun at the same time, and you get the rewards from it in the end. So in answer to your original question, I think it's just a case of a lot of it being in the right place at the right time and showing willingness to learn, willingness to make mistakes, but go from there.
Sure, but it's not just being in the right place at the right time, because you were the one who went out and, contacted Queen's Medical Centre trying to get the radio stuff, and you were working 3 jobs at that time. So you must have had to be quite sort of disciplined and focused in a lot of ways. Yeah,
I think I have to give credit to the people at the news agents and the pubs and things that I was working at, because they were very lenient. I think they could see that this is what I really wanted to do, and if Forest were playing at home on a Saturday afternoon at the City Ground, I'd do. I couldn't drive at the time then either, so I'd get the train to Nottingham to the City Ground. Well, walk to the City Ground from the train station, commentate on the game, get the train back, and then do a 6-hour, 7-hour shift at the news agent or the hotel or the pub where I happened to be working on that Saturday night. But it was kind of, you kind of think, well, if I just keep doing what I'm doing, eventually something will come. And and luckily it did. And even during while I was covering Mansfield, I'd be working in a pub on a Sunday afternoon, like the graveyard shift, and there'd be me and 3 other people sat there. It was very, very like Cheers. It was just me and like 3 other people on a Sunday night, but I'd be there.
I'm not sure Cheers is a reference to the audience.
No, true. I'm trying to think of like a modern day.
We keep doing this, referencing like programs on TV.
Ask your parents. They'll know it, or your grandparents. But I'd be sitting there writing notes and doing my research for a game whilst spilling pints of Stella all over the place. So I think it's the desire to do it and know that what you're doing is a good thing. You just have to sort of keep pushing it. And I know not everybody has that luxury, but sort of being there and being in that place and working towards something and trying to get better at it is what helped me out in the end.
Yeah. To the untrained eye, it might seem that your job is just turning up on a Saturday, commentating on a match, and going home. It's not like that, is it?
No.
Can you just take us through your working week and what sort of prep do you do? For instance, you've got Stags have got Arsenal this weekend and stuff. That's a formidable amount of prep. So what's your typical working week?
Mine varies because I'm a freelancer, so I do various roles at various stations, Radio Nottingham and at Radio Leicester as well. So every day is different, but in terms of the football commentary, my technique would be to first of all, I have my trusty football Bible, as it were, which is a little notebook, and I dedicate each page to a game. And on one side will be relatively blank, and that's where I'll put my my pre-written stickers for each player, which is one of those tasks where to the untrained eye is a bit like, oh, that's pretty nerdy, but actually, while you're there, it's just thorough prep, and so you're there. You've got I normally do probably 16 players per team. I know normally have a squad of 18 or so, but
you have a sub with the one on that you've got nothing about.
Oh yeah, 9 times out of 10, like so you see somebody on the bench and you go, oh, I've not got a sticker for them. But yeah, I write down like the key stats, like their age, obviously their position, previous clubs, appearances, goals, something that could affect the game, and something that you can put into the context of the match, whether it be a former player or whether it's somebody who scored a hat-trick in the previous game, something like that, just to give it something different, just to add a little bit more context to it. I normally try and find something quite quirky about a player and try and find a way to drop it in, but only if it's necessary. Like I sometimes hear one or two when they sort of drop it in, it's like, oh, you've been shoehorning that in, haven't it? Yeah. And so it's normally a sheet of stickers, which I have to give credit to Colin Frey and David Jackson and Charlie Slater as well. Like they're sort of from the sticker school, as it were. But it's a faultless technique, So when you've got them there, it's like revising for an exam. When you're there, you're writing all the things down, and when you've written them down and you've got them there ready to go, then you've got that to fall back on if there's a bit of a lull in the game. So I have those, and then I have the on the other page. There's normally facts about the game, league positions. It's just everything I need really for a match in terms of like what the managers have said, the form, obviously the opposition angle as well. So there's a lot that goes into it. I'll probably spend about a day doing all of that. But again, like for example, with the freelance life such as it is, you could be doing a journalism shift in the newsroom, and then you go home at 5-6 o'clock, and then you've got a match the following day, and you've done no prep for it, and you're sort of there until 12 o'clock, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, sort of writing things down. By candlelight, you're sort of there going like, that is. And so when you're doing all that, it takes a lot of prep, but it's worth it in the end, because if you go to a match without any preparation, then you're snookered, aren't you? And also it's getting into that routine. Like if I've not done that prep, then I won't feel prepared for a game, and I'll feel completely on edge.
It's good to have that. I was going to say the word Arsenal there to describe. That's probably a bad word, isn't it? It's good to have that in your back pocket, though. To have so much over preparation is always going to be a lot better than under preparation.
100%. Like when you've got everything that you need for a game. I know some people do more, some people do less, but for me, just having that set way, which it took a couple of years to get round to doing, like I sort of thought I'll try it this way, I'll try it that way, but having seen the way that other people do it and sort of tailoring it to my needs, then eventually you find a way. And also it makes a nice little souvenir for the end of the season, which is really nice. I've got how many have I got? 6 or 7 like good solid books that I'm quite proud of, and they can just go tucked away on the shelf, and you can look back on them as well. It's quite fun.
It's lovely old school feel as well.
Yeah. Although my handwriting is terrible, so my advice would be to if you've got horrible handwriting, just try and put it in block caps or something like that, because it's funny at the start, like when I'm doing the prep, the handwriting is quite neat, but during the game when you're squiggling notes down, it's sort of like Oates goal, header, Reed, and it just like makes no sense whatsoever. But to me, I'm like, okay, well that means that and that means that. So
you can write your own designated shorthand.
It's like hieroglyphics. It's nobody has any idea what it means, but luckily I do. So it helps out in the end. So in terms of a day preparing for a commentary game, just having as much information as you can that you can add to it at the right moments, but also one of the things I do tend to write down there is to slow down. I've had a lot of people, and rightly so, say that it's not all a whirlwind in the game. You have to pace yourself. You have to be able to take a breath, and as exciting as it is, when the ball's flying into a penalty area and that type of thing, to the listener, if you're speaking at 100 miles an hour trying to describe a goal and the build up to a goal, within 30 seconds the listener's not going to remember all of that information, and you might stumble. I've done it loads of times in commentary games where I've gone, research on the edge of the box, let's fire, blah blah, and it's just like what did he say? So it's a little bit like that, and so I think I always write slow down and less is more at the top of every page, because that's like a little reminder to say, look, you don't have to, you don't have to fill up that time.
Every detail.
Exactly. Yeah, because again, it's better to have the quality rather than the quantity of it.
For sure. Yeah.
So just a reminder to get your questions in the YouTube comments. We'll be asking some of those later, or you can phone us on our hotline. I will take your questions like this. Okay, you can't really. Jake, you started off in hospital radio, which has always been a sort of a classic route into broadcast in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Is that still a route you recommend now, or what else could an aspiring journalist be doing to start putting themselves out there?
Yeah, I highly recommend it. I think I look back on my days at hospital radio really fondly. I think having the freedom to try some things there and make mistakes, it's always a nice thing to do. A lot of the time at hospital radio, there's people there that have been in the industry anyway, which is quite good. So it's almost like an extra, I don't know, I suppose a curriculum, I guess. It's like an extra bit of information that you might need, whether it be, for example, when I was there, we had Stephen, who's a very talented sports presenter and producer, who would help me out. Rajiv also doing. Helping me out with programming and that type of thing, and it's just a good way to sort of learn the ins and outs of a radio station without the worry of upsetting too many people. If you make a mistake, it's okay, obviously within reason, of course, but if say you get the name wrong or something like that, which obviously you don't want to do, but if you do,
they're poorly, they're not going to chase you.
Well, some do, but it's nice to be able to find a way in, and then you can add that onto your CV. You can make a demo that way. You can, I know a few people that do like podcasts and that type of things now, using hospital radio, but also it keeps your feet on the ground. They're strongly encouraged when you're in there to visit patients on wards and get their stories, because whilst you're in the journalism world, whilst you get to go out and about and do things, when you're in hospital radio at QMC, you're encouraged to visit wards and speak to people, and it makes their day as much as anything.
For sure,
some of them, they don't get that many visitors, unfortunately. So if somebody comes along and talks, you talk to people about music. There was one person who was unwell and been in hospital for a long time, but we'd always make an effort to go and visit him, and he'd tell us all these interesting stories about this, that, and the other, and he'd go, "Oh, yeah, we'll use that. Yeah, it's really good." Yeah. And he'd be. He would ask him what song he'd want to use. One of the bloopers I had was he wanted John Denver, Annie's song, and when I asked him, I thought he said any song. So I was just picking random John Denver tracks out there, and little things like that. I just thought, but then again, those are the kind of mistakes that you can make when you're there. So it's a good way to learn the craft and learn even how to drive a desk, or also how to edit a package or something like that. You've got the facilities there to do things at your leisure, and other people that are there can listen to it, and you've got as many ears as you want to listen to it. And then in terms of other ways in the sports journalism route, contacting local football clubs, non-league, as far down as you want. Most towns and cities these days have several teams that are looking for people to do some photography, or to write up a match report, or to live tweet during a game or something like that. So if you go, I'd imagine they probably can't pay as much, or I don't know, they might be able to give you a pie and a bovril or something as payment, jackpot, but being able to just decorate your CV with things like that, eventually it'll get you on the ladder, and it's enjoyable as well. I think if you do it and you enjoy it, then that'll give you the ammunition to want to pursue a career in that. And I know it's very competitive, but if you can get an edge on somebody else, then go for it. And like myself, if it means working till God knows what time whilst you're juggling it with another job, it's worth it in the end. So there are ways in. Even now on like social media, people can put content on from their bedroom. You see, podcasts and things like that from various self-made studios that are really good quality, and to be able to do that. Particularly over the last 10 years or so, lots of people are doing that, which is good. So it's just a case of getting as much content as you can and learning as you go, and then if you think this could be, I could have a career in this, then put it in for send it to people, send it to the bosses and things like that, and see what they think. They might offer you some feedback which you can take forward. And then after that, who knows?
Great. So question from one of our viewers, Katie. She's asking, how do you make yourself stand out as a commentator?
I think it's just being, in a weird way, being yourself, which I know is a bit of a cliche answer, but for me, I think if you try and sound like somebody that's already out there, then they're just going to go, well, you're just another Clive Tildesley or another John Murray. I like Clive, but I suppose try and offer something different if you can. And I know it's easy to say, but if there's a way, in terms of like a football commentator, for example, you try and use different language. If you read a lot, then you try and incorporate the language that you pick up from books into that football.
Just
commentary.
read a lot.
That as well. Yeah,
important advice.
Yeah. My parents often say to me, you should probably have read a lot more, and that's something I'm doing. But if I'd have been on here 10 years ago, I'd have been. I don't know what I'd have been like, to be fair, but I'd like to think I've learned a few more words in that time. But in answer to the original question, I think in order to stand out, just keep trying to get better and trying to incorporate almost like a new technique. Maybe sort of come up with phrases yourself. I know with football commentary, there's sort of the same phrases, like towards the back post or back stick or things like that. But if you can find a way to make that different, for example, like Charlie Slater, I remember when he described the top corner as where the owl sleeps in one of his commentary. Wow. But you're thinking at the time, where the else? But then, of course, it's sort of like it's in a corner, it's in a dark corner of a goal.
Makes sense,
and things like that. But that's always stuck with me, and I'm just a bit like, it's like what a really clever thing to say. And it's great to see him doing well, with things like that. And so I think just find new ways and sort of keep practicing as well. That's the main thing. Try and get better at it. In terms of standing out, try and find a new way to show your content off to other people. I know, like I've seen various TikToks and things like that of commentators filming themselves doing things, which is good. I film sort of a POV view of a day in life of a football commentator type thing, where I don't like being on it, to be honest. I'm one of them. I'd rather be the person behind the camera rather than the camera looking at me. He said sitting here with cameras looking at him. But I think just trying to find something different that hasn't really been done before,
USPs.
Which I know is tricky, but I suppose you just have to see what's out there, and if you can think of even just finding a way to twist it slightly to make it different and say, look, this is what I can do, then that'll be the way forward, and just keep practicing, I guess. That's probably my
very much so
advice.
And you can practice anywhere. Like you can just comment along to a game at home, right?
Yeah. I do it all the time. It's actually quite annoying for other people, but I'm always. I mean now you get people who do it off tube. Like they'll be watching the same game on a TV screen in a studio somewhere or in their living room, and they've got the facility to be able to do that. And if you can record that and send it off to different people and say, right, here's the game and here's my commentary, they can sync it up relatively straightforward, and then just say, look, this is how I would do it, and they might give you some feedback on it, or they might go, actually this person's
give you a
quite good, let's give you a game, maybe in a lower league or something like that. I mean, they're not going to put you on the Champions League final straight away. You never know. But and then when you get that opportunity, make the most of it as much as you can. You have to prepare. You have to take it, because you never know when an opportunity like that might come around again.
Sure,
so that's my long-winded answer to the
No,
question.
that's great. It's a good advice.
So we'll take one more student question before we get back to our pre-prepared questions. Somebody calling themselves the Grand Narrator, which is a fantastic name, says, what would you say are the best venues to commentate from?
I mean, I can't not say the One Call Stadium, because I mean, to be fair, that is it is quite good, because I think my first home game I think it was against Rochdale in the League Cup, and I remember in terms of what we're after as commentators is a good view. First of all, that's probably a good view where you can see all the pitch as clear as you possibly can without, because sometimes you sort of, if you're at one end of the ground and there's action happening at the other end, you're literally like looking down that end or the other end. But a good view, first of all, a good technical setup, so somewhere to plug your commentary kit into that works, that you can connect back to base with. Get someone with a great atmosphere as well. 9 times out of 10, you often get a really good ground with a really good atmosphere. In terms of like names for stadiums, Wembley was great. I've had the pleasure of doing it. Even just the one time was good. I know the result didn't go Mansfield's way, and after half an hour they were 2-0 down and down to 10 men. I was like, oh well, well, that's that then. But in terms of that facility, that was in many ways it inspires you to think, I want to commentate from here all the time. Even like the food and the setup and everything like that was really, really good. So in terms of what I look out for, you're kind of grateful just to be there doing it. I'm not one of those diva football commentators where I go, there's no pie, or anything like that, So it's as long as you can get on air and you can see the game and it's not too cold, then you're in, then you're set. Ideally somewhere with a desk to put your notes on. That's something else as well. The amount of times I've been sat, like there was I can't remember which stadium it was. I won't name it because it's probably not fair. But I was sat there with we have like a little carry case to put the kit in, and I was sat there like that with the case with my notes on, headphones on as well, like with my phone there, sort of going like, and there's who's playing there, right? Okay, and you're trying to work all that into it. So as long as you've got sort of a desk, a good atmosphere, a good view of the game, so you can see what's going on. Sometimes, some of the clubs in the Premier League and the Championship, they've got like a little TV monitor as well, so you can see that as well. That always helps. In League One and League Two, sort of less so, but sort of those sort of basic things are what we're after.
Who does the best pies?
Oh, good question. One I had recently was really good. That was at Shrewsbury. That was really nice. They do a good pie. That was really good. That one stood out for me. The Mansfield Town chicken balti pie was very good. But it's funny because you kind of, it's become a bit of a tradition just to have one. And so if I don't get one, it's like going back to the preparation thing. If I've done all my notes and everything, but if I've not had a pie, the game's going to be terrible. You're going to have a horrible day. But I think you kind of, those things are what you're after. And I know for people starting out, they won't have that luxury of having a radio commentary kit and that type of thing there, but just find yourself at a good view to be able to see what's going on, because of course if you can't see what's going on, you can't describe it, and no one has any idea the amount of times that there's been a crowded penalty area that feels like a million miles away to the left-hand side, and you're there and it's a goalmouth scramble, the ball winds up in the back of the net, players running all over the place, and you're going, who scored that? But then you sort of, in some ways you have to sort of describe it as that. You kind of, I've lost count of how many times I've done this, but I've sort of gone, it's gone into the back of the net, but off who? And he's running away, he's celebrating, I'd imagine it's him, but I'm not entirely sure. And then you kind of, luckily for me, we've got like somebody next to us, a co-commentator, who might have spotted it, who's got a better view of it than I have. But you kind of just have to go with your gut and confidently do it. And then sometimes I get it wrong, and if you get it wrong, you just have to amend it as quickly as you can and go from there. So a good view is probably a good view, and a way to dial in is sort of the two main things that I'd be after, I think.
Oh, very good. Moving on, podcasting, massive nowadays. Increasingly part of the BBC's digital strategy as well. Increasingly, Sounds is podcast heavy. How much involvement have you had in podcasts?
Not a great deal, to be honest. Although with what we tend to do these days now is that when we gather things for radio, particularly in the sport department, immediately you're thinking this can go on. For example, our Forest podcast on Radio Nottingham, the Shut Up and Show More Football podcast. If, for example, I'm doing a piece with Nigel Clough and he's talking about his days at Forest, you're thinking immediately, podcast.
That's going to be worth
right?
that. Yeah.
And so it's kind of like an extra branch to what we do. We kind of think, okay, how can we take this content further, rather than as well as playing it on the radio on a match night or a match day. There might be people who can't listen at 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon or on a Tuesday night or whenever. So being able to put it on a podcast and finding a way to do it in that way is a massive part of what we do now. Same when I'm at Radio Leicester, they do a lot of their programmes on a weeknight. Normally that will then become a podcast with a couple of tweaks here and there, so that then people can listen to it back, which is always handy, because I think the way now that people take in their media, particularly their audio, has changed a great deal. You know, a lot of people are very, very busy, and so if they're driving in the car to work in the morning and they want to hear about the latest from the City Ground or wherever, then they can go, right, okay, well, the latest Shortmanshire Moor football's out. I'll stick it on and go from there. I listen to quite a few podcasts on, if I'm travelling to an away game, I normally get through, depending on where I'm going, like Plymouth Argyle, for example, I normally get through about a whole series.
You've got time.
So I think in terms of what I do, it's kind of changed in the fact that you're sort of thinking about where would this fit in the radio side of things, and also can it be used again in a podcast? Can that content go further for the listener?
Production-wise, I mean, they're very similar. Obviously, you're making audio at the end of the day, but what are the main production differences between live radio, say, and a podcast?
I think there's a lot of similarities, but also in terms of the key differences, I suppose shorter clips is probably better, I think, in some ways for a podcast, sort of like short and concise. Depending on what type of podcast it is, if it's like a long form one, then obviously you've got more room to be able to put a whole conversation in there. But I think depending on how the conversation goes, for me, I'm quite happy to have sort of like short, sharp. I mean, it's only my personal preference, but I like short, sharp bursts of a conversation because it goes in better.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously more people like to listen to longer conversations. But when I'm editing it, I'll sometimes I'll listen to the whole conversation and think, okay, well that's a good solid chunk there that people can sort of indulge in. Yeah. And then maybe there'll be a room for a little bit of a break there for an advert or something, and then take it forward and say, right, you're going to hear more from this person and that person coming up next. So I suppose it's keeping them engaged. As a main thing. But in terms of the editing side of it, as long as the audio quality is very good, like post-match interviews and that type of thing, obviously like on a windy Tuesday night in Stoke, for example, if the audio isn't good quality at all, we'll find a piece that is good that we can then talk about and that type of thing. So there's ways of moving it forward, I think, rather than just sticking it in there and going, right, there's your podcast, off you go. You try and find a way to move it on. Monday nights, going to radio for a second, on Monday night programme In the Game, we do an hour of sort of the post-match from what's happened over the weekend, but rather than it sounding the same as what it would be at 5 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, we find a way to move it forward. So we invite fans on, we invite former professionals, we talk about the other football that's happened this weekend. If there's a big story that's happened over the weekend in sport, we want to sort of take it forward and make it relevant again. And again, that can go on into a podcast format, I think, as well. So I think it's just finding ways to keep it relevant and sort of trimming the fat, I think, is probably the best way to describe it. Sort of, give them all the good stuff in one place at one time, where they can just go, right, well, I want to hear about this. There it is. Whereas with radio, live radio in particular, obviously people, the conversation might go in a different direction, or they might not have as much time as we hope. Whereas with a podcast, you can just go, right, okay, well, we've got this amount of time. Let's fill it with as much quality as we can.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I mean, I think with the podcast as well, there's a tendency to see, there's a laziness sometimes to assume that you can throw everything in there. You're not limited so much to time scales. Yeah. You're not live for a start, so there's more there. Yeah. And often that leads to, not in the BBC's case, so that they're very good at this, but there can be a tendency just to assume that it can bloat at that point, and you can just throw as much in as possible and let the listener pull it out, and they don't tend to work very well. So you can be more curated
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
podcast.
and more concise as well. I mean, I've been listening to a podcast recently where they talk about movies. And it's a really good podcast, but probably the first 20 minutes or so, they're sort of it's just waffle.
Yeah,
and I'm sitting there in the car. It's like a 20-minute journey for me to get to work, and I'm sitting there thinking, right, I'll put this episode on, and off I go. And before they've even got to the meaty bit in the middle, I'm still there going like, well, you're going to talk about this thing that whereas straight away you want that immediate.
You want to be in there.
Yeah, you want to be in there straight away. So I think it's just getting in there straight away and getting to the crux of it. Obviously, having an intro and that type of thing, and a couple of minutes maximum of what you're there to talk about and who your guests are and that type of thing. But yeah, you want to get to the meaty bit of the burger first, rather than just fun at the start. That's I never thought I'd be
great analogy.
I never thought I'd be doing that. Just popped in there, But yeah, something like that is probably my tip for podcasting. But again, I've not done as much. That's something that I'm hoping to get into going down the line, because I know that's sort of the direction that the audio is going at the minute. In that people are looking for podcasts and finding new ways to take in the audio medium.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how important is, well, I imagine the answer is very, but networking's a big part of being a journalist, building relationships with people, from when you went to hospital radio and approached them to the clubs you're having to work with on a regular basis. Have you got any tips for how to build those relationships and how to network?
Just be, I know it sounds pretty basic, but just be polite and amenable, and be approachable if you can. I've met many esteemed football journalists and things in commentary boxes and press boxes, press conferences and that type of thing. And even just if you see somebody that you want to know, just go over and introduce yourself. And more often than not, they're quite happy to meet you if the timing's right. I remember going over to various commentators and things, and saying, lovely to meet you, I'm Jake from Radio Nottingham. And normally I try and find something to talk about to spark the conversation off with. For example, if it's somebody from 5 Live and they're coming to do a Mansfield game, I'll try and give them like a local tidbit, and they'll appreciate that. I think
pie insights.
Yeah. Go for the Balti. Yeah. You'll thank me later. It's something like that. I think because for me, when you're in the press box, particularly before a game starts, a lot of the time, once you're set up and ready to go, there is a little bit of time to do a bit of extra prep and that type of thing. And normally that's a good time to go and get a pie or get some food and what have you, and then you can socialise and mingle. So I met the sport editor at Radio Leicester, Adam Whitty, at a Mansfield game in the press box. He was doing a piece for 5 Live, and we just got to talking, and then from then he said, would you be interested in doing some work for us at Leicester? And as a freelancer who's still sort of looking to keep, to make contacts and to do different things and have new ways of learning, I said, yeah, absolutely, that'd be really good. And then from then, I learnt quite a lot about podcasting and making a podcast, because they do that more at Leicester than they do in Nottingham. They do sports bulletins over there, whereas at Nottingham the newsreader does the sports bulletins and that type of thing. So it was interesting opening that door to a different way of doing things. It's not like a rigid BBC way. This is how we do things. Like Leicester is very, very different. And so even just that chance conversation with Adam in the press box sort of made me think, okay, well we could do it this way, we could do it that way. This is really exciting. Meeting, I met John Murray in a commentary box, esteemed 5 Live England commentator, and I thought, if I don't go over and speak to him, then I might never meet him again. And bless him, he was very kind enough to give me some feedback on a demo that I sent him fairly recently. He was sat in the departure lounge of a Norwegian airport when he rang me to give me my feedback. So I know his time is very precious. So having that feedback, but had we not had that conversation, then I'd have just gone. It would have just been sort of like a hopeful email saying, "Hi, John." Whereas once you make that initial engagement first,
there's a face to the name.
Yeah, exactly. One interaction I have to talk about, which still haunts me to this day, was during my hospital radio days. Forest were playing Watford in the FA Cup, and Stuart Pearce was there for Talk Sport.
Yeah.
And you think, oh my God, it's Stuart Pearce, psycho himself. He's a huge legend of Nottinghamshire sport, and England, of course. And the co-commentator, he said to me, "You're going to go and say hello?" I was like, "What do I say?" Like I was proper fangirling, sweating, and it was horrible. And I just thought, okay, well, I'll just go and ask him, what he thinks to today's game or something, just to say I've met him. And I thought, right, I'll go over. And as you're walking over, it's sort of like almost slow motion, thinking, you can feel your heart going. And instead of like a normal human being saying, "Oh, hi Stuart, how are you?" Jake from Hospital Radio. I went up to him and said, "Hello, Stuart Pearce," to his face. And before I could even like utter anything else, he just went, "Oh, just Stuart, it's fine. How are you?" And I wanted to die in that moment right then. It was just, it was horrible. Like I went so red. But bless him, he was really, really sweet. I've not seen him since, but yeah, just one of those moments where. But at that point, I always think about that because I think, well, it can't be any worse than that. Yeah. That's like the lowest bar. And and like even now, whenever I tell people that, it's like, even to this day, whenever there's like a famous face or something, like friends of mine will just go, "Oh, like hello, Tony Hadley," and things like that. They'll properly rip me for that one. So that was always good fun. But yeah, in terms of networking, it's massively important because you never know. Like even coming here and doing something like this, it came through somebody who knew somebody else, and I suppose putting yourself out there, people are going to notice you and they'll drop you an email. But not only that, not just in getting into the industry, but also in our roles of reporters and journalists, networking is hugely important because if we have a story that's breaking and we've had somebody that's spoke really well about this particular topic or this particular story, we can immediately go, "Oh, you were really good last time. Would you be up for coming on again?" And if you have that relationship with that person and you're good to them, then they won't think twice about coming back on. I've got to mention Brooke, producer Brooke at Radio Nottingham. She's got a whole catalogue of amazing people. Sometimes we'll come in at 8 o'clock in the morning and there's some breaking news coming from all over the place. And she'll just go, "Okay, well, I'll ring this person, this person, this person, this person." And they'll go, "Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to come on. Yeah, no problem at all." And you're thinking, like, wow. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you've got a show. And so it's forming those relationships and keeping in touch. And they'll sometimes reach out to you and say, "Oh, would you be interested in doing this?" And you can always say, well, yes or no. But if it is a no, then it's a sort of polite, or maybe next time. So I think in terms of the networking, just be amenable, be friendly, and keep in touch with as many people as you can, because you never know that your paths might cross again at some point in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to social media, obviously huge. Our students are social media first, I think you'd call it. Yeah. How has it changed the journalistic landscape for you, and how much use of it do you use in your practice?
We use it a lot, and in a positive way, I think. I think now the way that people take in their news is very, very different to what it was, say, 10, 12 years ago or so. I think what we're asked to do now in our local story team is when we go out, we get the audio for the radio side of it, we get quotes for an online article, but some of the things we're encouraged to do now is to film more interviews, so that then immediately that can be sent back to our very talented social media team, who can then edit it quickly and get a post out on Facebook regarding, say, I know there was a tram crash a couple of weeks ago. Right. So something like that, where somebody's out there and they've got some pictures, they've got somebody who was there, somebody who saw it, and immediately it's like film, edit, and then it's up. Straight away, within an hour of that being there. And it's not just the BBC that do that. 9 times out of 10, there's normally other local media that are there as well doing the same thing. So it is a huge part of what we do, because a lot of the time now, if people are at work or on the bus or something like that, and they'll be scrolling their phone, if they see a picture of a tram and a bus that have crashed into each other, then they're going to go,
they want to find out
more. Yeah, they want to find out more. And going back to the podcast thing briefly, I think if it's short and concise and they get that information immediately, then that's a key thing. And then if they want to find out more, then that links very nicely into what we do. You can hear more about it on Radio Nottingham, for example, or you can read more about it online. You can see a full report on East Midlands Today and that type of thing. So it's almost like a I'm trying to think of another burger analogy, but it's like I suppose it's like the doorknob to a door when you open it up, and then there's more about it here. But you've got that immediate, you're in the right place when you see that type of thing on social media.
I've seen that thing become a real format, short form video. It's often just a few clips, few still images, bit of text over about, bit of backing music. It's like less than a minute long, but it encapsulates everything.
Yeah.
And again, if you want to find more context, any more detail, you click through and you go through. But it's become a real sort of standard.
Yeah, of course.
To work to,
and particularly with like the sports journalism perspective, what we do on a match day is, as soon as the manager interview is done and it's gone out live on air, you're immediately picking out a key quote or something that's going to make the listener want to listen to it again if they've heard it before, or if somebody hasn't heard it. For example, if Nigel Clough completely blasts his players. I remember one interview I did with the first team coach Andy Garner was explosive. It was a 2-1 defeat, 2-0 defeat down at Exeter City on a Tuesday night. So loads of fans had gone down, and I remember asking Andy. I said, "Andy, a disappointing night tonight." I was there with a microphone. It was cold, and he went, "No, it was disappointing," and he just completely went in. Understandably so. He was very disappointed and very angry at his player's performance, but immediately thinking, right, that's the quote. I can't remember. He said something like, "This is like no disrespect to Sunday League teams," but he compared it to Sunday League football, and that was the line. He said,
"You've got
And so immediately you think, right, there's the quote, a picture of a very angry Andy Garner. On it goes, and then immediately, people go, "Blimey, did he say that?" Okay, and then I've got to listen to this.
What's the context?
Yeah, and so so we'll put that on our Twitter, our Facebook page, on our Instagram. We do Instagram stories now as well, so it's sort of like a chronological follow through the day. Also, but then again, it's different at every station. I know Leicester. I worked for them recently in their social media department on their match day coverage, and they pick out 2 or 3 quotes from Gary Rowett and put them on, and then immediately you're sort of going, right, if you want to hear more and more analysis of what he said, listen to the podcast. So it's a huge part of what sports journalists do these days in terms of that. I think because it's the immediacy of it, that's how quick and easy it is just to be able to go. Even now I'll see people live tweeting during games. It's that quick, but sometimes even before, even if the goal's gone in, it's like right, goal straight away, and you're just like, wow, that was quick. And
I'll often watch a match and have read it, sort of thing. So you can just see other people's responses in real time.
And so it's quite refreshing, really, to think that there's this whole new avenue that people can go into, particularly the social media side, because that nowadays that's how people engage with it. You look at the comments, you look at the interaction. Employers will look at how you've turned. How you've got their followers up and how you've got their interaction up. We're quite, I think ours is based on sort of links to the BBC website as well. So we always try and say, right, well, Forest beaten 2-0 at Brighton, 2-1 at Brighton rather. Hear more about it here on the live page, which you can click on here, and here. And I think it's just giving them that access to it as well, which is the key thing. So but also going back to the point I made earlier about the accessibility of it, the fact that it's somebody with a phone, with a microphone that you can plug into the bottom of a phone and just go, right, well, I'm going to do a vlog about Mansfield Town, and immediately can just go right straight
out there,
and then that's it. And then even less than an hour after the game is done, you see people doing live YouTube channels and that type of thing. You look at the Man United one where he's live streaming the game and also reacting to it, that type of thing. So it's changed a lot, but I definitely think it's an incredible tool to be able to use. And then once people do use it and get used to using it, then it's a really good thing, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
One last question from us before we move on to some student questions. This is a slightly how can I put it, loaded question maybe. But you got 2 minutes max to answer the question. Is radio a dying art form?
I don't think so. No, I think it's a changing art form, but I think there's still room for it in the way we do things. I know a lot of people turn to podcasts and things now, but there is still that unique feel of live radio, particularly with, live sport, for example. You can't put that on a podcast because it's pre-recorded and all that. So in terms of that immediate reaction, there is still room for live radio, and those conversations that are had, obviously with what's going on in the Middle East at the moment, it's an ever-changing thing. And by the time that you've recorded a conversation about it, edited it, and put it on a podcast, say in half an hour, immediately that could change. Whereas we had a breaking story last week, the week before that, with Andrew and Matt Batten-Windsor being arrested, and I think that broke at 10 o'clock. Immediately at 10:01, it's in our bulletin straight away, live. We didn't have much information on it, of course, at the time, but then you can follow it that way. And so in terms of, I can understand the point of the question, that not as many people use it for what it once was as a medium, because there's different things out there, but I still think there's a way to use it as a live medium, and that reactionary medium, and people finding ways to tell stories. And in some ways they could go hand in hand with podcast. If you've done a really good radio feature, that can then be listened to again, which we do a lot of the time on BBC Sounds. You can say, right, well, you can hear it again and more on BBC Sounds. So as an avid radio listener still, I think there's still plenty of room in the ever-growing audio medium circuit for it.
Sports is pretty safe. It's such a part of how people engage with it. Maybe music, not so much. But,
I mean, again, people, if there's ways to have conversations around it, then I still think it's a good thing. Sometimes I'll be on the way back from the away game, I'll listen to a podcast, and sometimes I just fancy listening to some music. And you put a radio station on, whoever it may be, and if there's a good song playing, or there might be a good song on the way, then why not? Sometimes there's nothing wrong with belting it out in the car. I do it many a time. If you see me on the M1 going past Gloucester services or wherever, then
I hope I never do.
Yeah, you'll be able to hear me before you see me. Yeah.
So student questions. This one's from Izzy. If you could go back in time to commentate on any match, which one would you pick?
One that I've done already, or like any match that's ever...
Any match in the history of football.
Oh, man. God. Oh, that is... If I had to pick one, I'd probably go with the 2005 Champions League final, Liverpool versus AC Milan, because that had everything. Like, I remember watching it. In fact, I remember I was flying to Turkey the next day. I was going on holiday, and I remember... thinking I probably should go to bed, but it's just so exciting. But I mean, that one, obviously Clive Tilsley, that was the Steven Gerrard performance in that game was phenomenal. But the fact that they were 3-0 down, they had that adversity, that jeopardy, that challenge, and the fact that they pulled it off. You had extra time, you had a dramatic penalty shootout. It had so much drama, and I think, having watched it, it sometimes comes up again on social media, just randomly. You sort of see Gerrard's header or something like that, and 3 goals in the space of 6-7 second half minutes. I can only imagine what the commentators must have been thinking, because 3-0 at half time, you're thinking, oh blimey, this is going to be a long second half. But the fact it's could they? They could, okay. And then and it just kept going on and on and on. So that one would be right up there for me if I could do that one. The World Cup final in Qatar, France versus Argentina, again, that had everything. You had the Messi effect, Messi versus Mbappe. That was like a huge story there in that one. And also, with it being just having a great game with loads of drama, loads to talk about. And again, you get drab 0-0 draws, but then again, you get other ones that are just monumental matches. I think my favourite one ever from a Mansfield perspective. And I remember it well, because I remember it was a cold January day, and at the time I was relatively new to the football commentary reporting game, and truth be told, I didn't feel like I was good enough to do it. I'd done probably about 20 games or so at that point, and obviously when you're filling in for somebody's shoes, you're going to get stick. But I remember thinking, I'm just not as good as the others in this, and you're getting a little bit of imposter syndrome and that type of thing. But I remember Mansfield were playing Cheltenham at home, and that game had everything. There was three red cards,
Wow.
5 goals, including a stoppage time winner. And I just remember calling the goal as well as I could have done at that point. CJ Hamilton who scored it, and it was one of those, it was bumbling around the penalty area, and he came in from the left-hand channel and smashed it into the top corner, and you knew then immediately that was it, the winner of the game. I remember after the game, I got a really lovely message from David Jackson saying, like, we're going to use the commentary on the programme on Monday. A few other people at Radio Nottingham emailed me saying, we hope you know that sounded really, really good. And I think that was like maybe a turning point of thinking, well, maybe I could do this, because prior to that, you're new to it on that level. So if I could go back and do a game or sort of relive a game, then that one would be right up there. Obviously, the promotion winning game against Accrington Stanley a couple of seasons ago, that was really good because that was something that I wanted to tick off the list. All the other commentators at Radio Nottingham had got a promotion on their CV. Obviously with Forest getting promoted to the Premier League. Mansfield getting back into the Football League as well, and Notts County doing the same. So everyone had a promotion on their commentary CV, and I was like, if I have one of them, then that'll be really good. And 2024 they got one, so I was like, right, yes, I had that. So so I hope that answers the question. There's quite a few games that I'd pick, but in terms of games I've never done, those two, the World Cup final and the Champions League final, but those two Mansfield games will stay with me forever for sure.
Yeah, that Champions League final, the Liverpool AC Milan, I watched the first half of that at home, and then I was like, I said to my mate, I'll go around and watch the second half. It was 3-0. I sort of dawdled, and I stopped off in the off licence to get some beer, and I was just like, there's no hurry, the game's over.
Yeah.
I walked into his house and it was 3-0.
Oh, you missed it. Oh,
I missed that whole thing.
Oh, blimey. Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because you kind of, when you're sitting there watching it, I just remember thinking, well, that's it, game's done, game's over. It's AC Milan. When you think of the players that are in there, you've got your Crespos, your Kakas, your Nestas, Dida, I think, was in goal, and nothing goes past Dida. So, and then obviously 3 goals flew past him. So, it was a brilliant, a brilliant final. And that's why you love it. With every couple of 0-0 draws and every couple of boring games that you get like that, you get one of those and you go, that's why we love it. That's why we love the drama of it all, and you feel it with the fans as well. So hopefully more of them on the horizon.
Okay, so I think that's about all that we've got time for, guys. Thank you so much for sending through your questions. We've got Sarah Ashworth, who's a production assistant for Netflix, joining us at 11:30. So if you want to take a bit of a break, I will see you on Teams for that one. Just wanted to say massive thanks again, Jake. It was brilliant having you in.
Thank you.
Loads of really useful insights for our students. Thanks for sharing your experiences, and come back sometime soon.
I will do it. I'll bring a striped shirt next time as well.
We
coordinated.
Did you not read my email?
Clearly not. No. I went with check today, so there we go. Trying to stand out. But thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you later.